Good morning, friends. Joe here with me as always.
Matthew Avery.
How's everybody doing?
Joe, let's not forget, this is episode number 2 of Rising Signs. Officially number 2, eh? So congratulations.
We didn't fail on the first one. So I think we've made progress.
I think so too.
I got this cup. I wanted to send you a message this morning.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Morning, beautiful.
I got this one. It's in red for my Canadian counterparts over here. So we're rocking the red just so that we're clear.
Well, this is from the Joanna Gaines line from Target, Hearth and Home.
Ooh.
Not a sponsor yet. Well,
unfortunately here in Canada, we don't have a Target. So ours would be maybe a Winners or a HomeSense. So I'll reach out to Winners or a HomeSense, and maybe we'll see if they'll partner us down in here in Canada.
We're going to have to talk about that another time. I had no clue that you guys didn't have a Target.
I mean, Joe,
is there a reason?
We have a Target, it's somewhere, but in my area, or like if you were to take a drive down the street, you wouldn't come across a Target. No.
All right. That's interesting.
Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. Anything you can buy at Target, you can buy it at a Walmart or somewhere else too. Let's not kid yourself.
Listen, you should go to a Target. I do believe it's a different world. It's a different experience. I just want to listen. Yeah, never mind. We'll talk about Target another time. So real quick, before I get busted on it, these aren't prescription glasses.
I didn't want to say anything, but I was gonna ask, what is the deal with those glasses, yo? Is it for the podcast?
So, no, it's for life in general. So, I'll try and make it brief, because this is gonna be a little complex, and I don't want to dive into it. Okay, but these block or filter blue light. So, something I was researching, probably 4 or 5 months ago, which has mixed reviews, is because we're on devices so much. The average person nowadays is on some sort of screen up to 6.5 hours a day. It's pretty crazy. And what happens is the blue light that is emitted from the screens that you have, if you have like a device, you might see like day and night mode, where like night mode gets more yellow, right? So this exposure you get from the sun, but when the sun goes down, this actually triggers a reaction in your brain to produce melatonin. And what happens is people go to bed staring at their phone, right? And then it takes them a while to get to sleep, one, because their brain's running from whatever they're paying attention to, but also the blue light sends a signal to the brain that like, the sun's up, I should be awake. And this is what's called the circadian rhythm, which anyways, we won't dive into that. But it's what I noticed is with doing a lot of these conferences, the virtual webinars, and of course, this wonderful podcast, I've been staring at screens a lot. And my eyes, I've been getting really, really tired, and I started getting some headaches. So just yesterday, I pulled these bad boys out. And like when I woke up the next morning, I still had a headache. And I put them on. And sure enough, it was like an hour and my headache was gone. I was like, all right, so I'm going to commit these to normal use now.
Well, I'm going to say that you did a lot of research for somebody who just wanted to look ultra professional for a podcast. But anyways, you do look good. You do look good, and the glasses do suit you with the beard. So I'm on Team Joe with glasses. And you know what? If it prevents you from getting headaches, then so be it. So be it.
Love it. I hear that we have a very special guest that you're going to introduce for us today.
Well, today we have an absolutely dear friend of mine all the way from Edmonton, Alberta. She works for Blanchett Neon. She is an absolute force in the sign industry. Joe, I know you know who she is, and I bet you a ton of viewers know who she is. She is the lovely Miss Taylor Blanchett. Taylor, welcome.
Hey guys, that was so nice. Thank you for that crazy great intro.
And you deserve it. Taylor,
way to go, Matt.
On behalf of Joe and myself, we want to welcome you to our second episode. It's been a pleasure to have you on it. So we have some questions and we're going to pick your brain.
Sounds good. But first, we need to go back to the Target thing, because I think this is a little bit of a sore spot for myself in particular. So just to clarify from Matt's comments, we did have Target. So we had Target for like a good, like, was it like a year? It was a very short period of time. And they ended up pulling out of Canada because they couldn't figure out supply chain in Canada. Because we, as I'm sure you and the viewers know, is that Canada's a really big country that's really spread out. And apparently they didn't think about that. So I'm a little sad about that. I was in the States over Christmas, and we definitely made a point to go and find our local Target. And I bought some of Joanna Gaines' line as well, brought it all the way home in my suitcase. So representing, I love it.
So would you say that Target offers a more pleasurable shopping experience than some of our retail chains here in Canada, Taylor? Is that what
so I can't say more pleasurable, but it was different. And choice is always a good thing. HomeSense is the love of my life, and I will never go back on HomeSense. However, it was nice to have a different option that was similar to HomeSense. We also lost our Zellers. So Zellers was my baby back in the day. And I can still think in West Edmonton Mall, I can still think of exactly where anything would be in that Zellers. And that was where the Target went into, actually. So Zellers was replaced by Target. And I couldn't even tell you what it is now. But yeah, so a little bit of a sore spot to start off with, but I'll forgive you for that one.
There you go. Hey, Joe, I told you, man, this girl is a world of knowledge, eh? So
what I'm hearing is that you really took time to appreciate Target when you were in the States, right?
I made an effort to. Yes, correct.
And here's what I would say. I don't know about HomeSense. I don't even know if they're in the States, and I don't know about Zellers, but like Matt made the perfect comparison, like Walmart. Mm-hmm. And you walk into Walmart and I feel like I'm in an industrial warehouse.
Yeah.
You walk into Target, everything's nice and clean. The people are really nice. They'll help you out. I don't know. I feel like I'm in a lower form of Amazon when I'm in Walmart. And whatever.
To each their own. Everyone has their own shopping experience that way, right?
I don't do that much shopping, but I do love Target. Great. I think it's a great selection. But before we get off on a Target tangent, we got some other topics to go on. Taylor, why don't you share a little bit about yourself personally, professionally, whatever you think would be appropriate. I know the little bit that I was able to learn in our ISA Elite Encounters, and I know you got a lot to say. So let's hear about it.
A little too much to say sometimes. So yeah, my name is Taylor Blanchett O'Donnell. I am fourth generation actually to work at our family sign company. My family's been in the sign business since 1947, where my great grandfather George Blanchett opened up a company right after World War II, saw a need for neon signage, and the rest is, as we say, is history. So we are a custom signage manufacturer, like Matt said, based out of Edmonton. I'm Edmonton born and raised. Lived here my whole life. Met my husband here. I've worked for the company for about 7 years now. A variety of different roles. Never wanted to work for the family business. Never, ever. I come from a background in music, actually. So I'm a jazz pianist by trade. Went to school for that, for studio recording. Worked in a recording studio for a couple months. Wasn't really the right fit for me, I found. So I was waiting tables. I was a manager at Starbucks. Decided after Dad kind of, I don't want to say begged, but I'll say convinced me to come on board for a short-term project, and the rest is just history. Fell in love with the industry. I've had a variety of different roles throughout the years, kind of moved my way throughout the company, and which has really added value now when we're kind of in the worst possible scenario from a business perspective. But being able to work in so many different sectors of the industry, as well as sectors within our own business, has really opened myself up to kind of appreciate the intricacies of it. Signs are so freaking cool. I know I don't have to convince you guys of that, and probably none of the viewers either. But every day is a little bit different. Every project's a little bit different. And we're really fortunate, I guess, right now, specifically in Alberta, in that signs are, I would argue, an essential service. And as everyone's going through this argument in terms of, oh, well, does our industry fall under essential? Does it not? The work that we're able to do from all the businesses that are out there manufacturing the decals and the social distancing banners and blockades and that sort of thing, to the ones that are doing exterior signage for the grocery stores and for the banks and for the transport companies and that sort of thing, is that we're really doing great things out there, I think, as an industry. And I love it. I love talking about the industry. I guess you mentioned briefly our ISA Elite. I was extremely proud to be named to the 2018 ISA Elite class with actually both of you. And my second baby is our YPN, which I'm sure Matt is repping today. I love that. I should have won my hoodie. I missed out an opportunity there. But I'm the co-vice president, along with Lee Murphy out of Access Signs, of the YPN, working alongside Matt and our fantastic team there. And just really proud of the YPN, really proud of the industry, and really looking to, one of my personal passions is to really drive interest and drive growth within the sign industry, because I love it. Everyone that I've ever talked to, either within the industry or otherwise, can really feel that, okay, well, you guys are doing something different. You guys are in the construction world. You're not really, you're doing some really cool things. And I'm really passionate about spreading the word, as it were, of the sign industry out there, and getting interest and getting the younger generation really involved in a really great opportunity in an industry that is aging, an industry that is right on the cusp of transitioning, or right at the cusp of growing into what's Signs 2.0 or 2020 look like, I guess, and onwards. So yeah, that's me. I'm actually in our shop right now. Here in Alberta, we are actually still running. So locked myself up in the boardroom, got some signs behind me, which I love. And yeah.
One other thing too, I think it's very important, Taylor, and I think you missed out on it, but I really want you to tell our viewers too, go into the work that you do for the women in the industry too, because you've been doing a lot of that lately, and I think that's very important to bring up and explain to our viewers some of that work that you do.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up.
Before we dive in, I want to actually chime in on a couple of things you mentioned that you were talking about. I think, being that you're a part of a family-owned business, you're in a position now where you feel a huge weight and responsibility to the employees, the coworkers, and keeping them busy. And a little tidbit to being essential. I think it's, people are going to argue for the sake of arguing, right? And I don't even know if it's worth making conversation about. But the reality of the situation is, the very few times that I have been outside of my home, because I'm doing my best to not only be respectful of the request that's been made of us, but to just be conscious of the issue and say, listen, the more people that are connecting with other people, the more opportunity there is to spread this virus. So if I can help reduce that, I think there's been some memes going around. It's like, if you asked me last year what I was thinking when I was sitting on my couch watching Netflix eating potato chips, I would think I was like a loser. And today I'm saving the world, right? So it's a beautiful shift. But one of the things I noticed is all of the services that are curbside pickup for grocery stores, department stores, they all had to get more signs. They all had to get more markings in the parking lot. They wanted to make the customers that felt the need that they had to come in, they had to get signs for the doors to just like really cover people that weren't exercising common sense, for lack of a better term. Say, if you feel sick, please don't come in, right? So these are all things that in our world seem very, very simple. But when you talk to somebody at a grocery store, like, they just have a sign guy. And whenever they need it, they call the sign guy, and the sign guy is always there to take care of it. They don't understand the process, the work, the design, the materials, the installation. They know nothing about any of that. So I feel, for the sake of the little bit of economy that's still going, and also for the need of protecting, citizens in both of our beautiful countries, right, that we're able to do what we can to make those curbside or drive up pickups available for all those people. So, I don't want to make an argument about it. I'd love to hear any comments from anybody watching, but I absolutely think signage has to be essential to help with the protection. Yeah, are signs essential to killing the virus? No, absolutely not. But they are essential to making efforts to keep people safer? Absolutely. Not to mention that we're all familiar with working with plastics and custom assemblies. So something will tie in, and then I'd love to hear more about the work you're doing for the women in the industry. One thing I've been, as a manufacturer's rep and talking to customers and helping them find solutions, I'm getting calls about sneeze guards all over the place, and I've been working on some solutions for you. I'm curious what you're seeing with that.
Yeah. And so it's interesting is that we're in this, specifically for us, we're kind of in a weird place in regards to the sneeze guard and the whole manufacturing thing. But before I get into that, I think it's really prudent that we bring up the whole COVID situation. I think that it's extremely critical that right now, the essential services thing has been something that I've been really struggling with personally, is that on a strictly selfish basis, again, family business, this is my legacy. This is all I've ever known. This is my future. Yeah, we're an essential service. Yes, we need to be creating these decals and these signs and these sneeze guards and the exterior signage and the banners, and I could go on and on, the parking signs that are essential to keeping people safe to the best of our ability during these times. But on the other side, the family business piece of it to me means something. And that means family. That means integrity. That means honesty. That means safety. And so that's something that I know internally that I've heard throughout the industry is that, well, you have a duty as a family business to protect your workers. And what that means is, well, are you closing down out of safety for themselves? And on the flip side, you look at the business aspect of it is that, well, I'm providing for 45 people and their families right now by keeping them busy, by keeping them employed that way. So that balance between the safety and the financial implications of it has been a challenge. And I know probably I know all the other businesses pretty much in the world right now are dealing with the exact same scenario and the exact same question. That how do you balance the health and safety aspect of it, the right thing to do, with the piece of it is, well, we do have an economy. At the end of the day, we are here to provide a service. At the end of the day, we do need workers in the back in order to produce these signs that we believe do serve an essential need in the marketplace, in the economy, whatever you want to call it. So I know that's something that we've been struggling with internally. And I don't know if there is a right answer. People, you see it on both ends of the spectrum, is that businesses that close down entirely to say, hey, listen, out of the safety for everyone, we don't want to take that risk. We're just going to send everyone home. Yep. And go from there. Let's wait it out. Let's wait until things are safer and bring people back. And on the flip side, where it's anything to make a buck, it's, well, do what you have to do, come into work, no PPE, no nothing like that. So it's a hard balance, I think, to walk. And it's something that I know that we're not always getting right. We're trying it to the best of our ability, but it's something to really look into. That was a long tangent, I guess, for your original question, is that how we see in the industry right now is that we really focus, I always kind of classify the sign industry, and this is kind of really generalized here, so forgive me, but I always look at it kind of in two main sectors. There's the manufacturing component of it, which is the metal, the plastic, the acrylic, all that, the channel letters, that component of it. And then there's what I consider the large format or the print aspect of the industry. That to me is kind of how I divide the two different sectors. There's a lot of companies that kind of intermix that. But for us, we really live on the manufacturing side of things. So big metal structures or big plastic structures or big letters or whatever. That's really the sector of the industry that we live in. And from a flat signage or from a decals perspective, we don't do that kind of work very well. We always work with our partners for that. And so that's been a challenge that we've been seeing, is that we're extremely, extremely fortunate right now that we were awarded some pretty major contracts back in January that are keeping our manufacturing facility busy from the standpoint of we're still running. We still have work in the queue. No new work is really coming in, but keeping our guys busy that way. But then it's a looking outward perspective, is that I'm balancing that aspect of it, is that no, we don't do this work well, but do I have a duty to do that kind of work right now? It's not out of profit. It's out of the goodness of our heart because it's the right thing to do. And so that's something that internally that we've really been struggling with, is that, well, our team doesn't necessarily have the skills to produce that kind of signs, but we know the people that do. And so how can we use our influence? How can we use our networks, our clients, to offer those sort of services, to almost serve as a conduit or to serve as a rep that way for, to really boost up the services that our partners that do that kind of work are doing, to really advertise on behalf of them, to promote on behalf of them, to be able to kind of feed back to the industry that way. So that's kind of what we're really seeing out here, is that Alberta's in this weird limbo right now. And again, this could all change in 3 hours from now. But as it stands right now, the government hasn't really shut down a vast majority of businesses. So a lot of businesses are still running in some sort of capacity. It looks a lot different. People are working from home, or there's split shifts, or it's this, that, or the other thing. Construction is still going to a certain extent. And so that's kind of the challenge that we're seeing out here, is it's this weird limbo of, okay, well, are we going to close down? Or are we not? It could happen tomorrow, could happen never type of thing. So it's this balancing act in terms of trying to manage that in the interim that's offered some challenges for us, at least. So
for sure. Taylor, have you done anything yourself as far as offering your services to the community in a different way that you would have gone about it before?
A couple different things, yeah. So one of the things that we're looking at internally is that, okay, well, where do we fit within this? Is that from a plastic perspective, that was really, we had some inquiries very, very early on from sneeze guards, from national chains, basically looking for mass quantities of acrylic, mass quantities of sneeze guards, that sort of thing. And then a couple days later, it seemed like they were just going straight to the distributors because, again, we don't really serve a purpose in that. We'd be applying a markup or we'd be applying something to it that they don't necessarily need. And so I kind of saw where that fit in. So that's really what the struggle has been internally, is from a brainstorming perspective in this new world. We know what skills we bring to the table. We're really great metal fabricators. We're really great at building channel letters. We're really great at installing. We're really great at, we have some really big equipment that can do some really big lifts, for example. And so that's where we're struggling, is that, okay, well, what services, this is our skill set. What do we bring to the table? How do we support other industries in this? That isn't necessarily in a signage faction, but still has the same skill sets. It still has the same needs. It still requires those services or that equipment or that tools or that product or whatever that looks like. So that's a long-winded answer to say we're trying to figure out what this looks like for us. Is that is it offering parking signs? That's something that we've really been looking into lately, is curbside pickups in terms of banners, in terms of exterior signage, in terms of making sure that our customers that are still running the essential services, so the healthcare facilities, making sure that the banks, making sure that the grocery chains, that their signage is bright and illuminated so that they can see things, that they have the proper banners, that they have the proper curbside pickup, that they have the interior physical distancing markers and decals and that sort of thing. Sure. So that's really where we've been fitting into this market. And like I said, it's one day at a time. Is that every day seems a little bit different. Every day the need is a little bit different. So trying to figure it out one day at a time, I guess, as I repeat myself. So
and quickly, and then we'll change topics, but just for our viewers and being the fact that you're our first female guest that we've had on this show, do touch upon the work that you're doing with the women's movement, because I think
thank you for bringing back to that. Yeah. So this is something that I'm very passionate about, I guess, from as a very passionate person in general. But I am one of probably, now that I'm counting, I'm going to get the number wrong, but it's less than 10 females in our company of 45. And I really see that across the industry as well, as that I would argue, and I'm generalizing here, but in a lot of construction, a lot of male-dominated trades-based fields, women are not as common. And I don't really know why. Well, I guess you could get into the reasons why, but there's really no reason why not. And so that's something that I'm really passionate about pursuing as a woman in the industry. I've heard it all. I've experienced it all in my limited years. Obviously, I haven't been at this for 25 years, but in the time that I have, I've probably seen most of it in terms of the experiences that way. And I very firmly believe that the sign industry is the perfect industry for women that are looking to grow their careers within, for a number of different reasons. Just the sheer options that are within it in terms of graphic design, in terms of marketing, in terms of content creation, in terms of fabrication, in terms of coordination and management, senior management. I could keep going down the line in terms of, it's for any female that's pretty much interested in just about any field, there's a fit for it in the sign industry. And so two things that, I guess, going back to your question in terms of what I'm involved in, the first one was the Women Leading the Industry, I believe it was called, at ISA Expo last year. Yep. Yeah. So we had our first inaugural, it was at ISA Expo in Vegas, and it was over 200 people signed up for it. They actually had to grow the size of the room at least once because there's so much interest in it. So I was really fortunate to be on a panel of women actually discussing just that in terms of what do we see as women in the sign industry? What is self-confidence? How do you grow that? How do you inspire others? Where do you find inspiration from? Who's mentored you? And some really great discussions coming out of that, being able to talk with other attendees in terms of, yeah, you know what, we've needed this. You know what, I do feel like I'm the only woman in this. And so I think the real critical part of that is that I very firmly believe that the sign industry is not struggling for workers because it's struggling for workers. It's struggling for workers because no one knows it exists. And so that's the real critical part of this, especially in the work that we do with the YPN and in work that we've experienced through ISA Elite in particular, is that it's really our duty, I believe, to get the word out there, specifically for the younger generation, but in my case, specifically for women as well, to say, hey guys, this is women, hi girls. Guys to me is unisex, so whatever. Hi people. The sign industry is something for you to consider, because any of those that I get the opportunity to meet with, from graphic designers, from people in business schools and those sort of things. They're like, I had no idea. And I'll never look at a sign the same way again is always the funny thing, is that, oh, look, signs. Oh, look, you don't realize the impact that they have until they're not there, or until you realize that, hey, this product or this service that we offer it really is essential, to kind of tie back to our original conversation. So yeah, I love it. I'm involved still with the Sign Association of Canada. We have a Women Breaking Barriers initiative, as it were. And it's intended to be the exact same thing as on the ISA level, basically inspiring and promoting the sign industry to women, and that this is a viable career option. It's something that you should very seriously consider.
And you're a great example of it. So
thanks, man.
I couldn't agree more. And I love the assessment that you gave with all of that. I think our industry is underserved because of lack of promotion and lack of understanding. And you really summarized that. But the thing that most people don't realize, and is probably the reason that we don't have as many people coming in, so much of it has always been family oriented. And like you already mentioned, Taylor, it's been male dominated for so long. And I always say, and my perspective is sales of components to sign manufacturers and to distribution that sell to sign manufacturers. So it's a little different, but I always say that the sign industry is 20 years behind, like every other industry, when it comes to simple things like HR, right? Or even things like technology.
Yeah.
So our ability to be able to read the future and adopt new technology, the phrase I love and hate at the same time is, it ain't broke, so don't fix it. And that's like Grandpappy said that 35 years ago, and that's the way my daddy built them, so that's the way I built them, and we're not going to fix it because it ain't broken. The problem is, it's like, listen, you're using incandescent bulbs to light up your channel letters. Have you heard of LED? It's really awesome. Right? It makes life easy. So it's one of those things where I think we need to ingest young professionals, people that are getting out of school and have learned things from different markets and different industries, because the sign industry is really, really profitable. It's a really beautiful place to be, and there's lots of room for improvement. So I love that you shared that. It's something I'm also passionate about, not only women, but new young people in the industry in general. So not to steal away, Matt, we have a scheduled and particular topic for this podcast, right?
Well, I have an interlude into this too.
He's leaving the room.
And it's fitting through because if we are jumping into Joe Exotics, Joe, is that what we're talking about right now? If we're talking about Joe Exotics too, we're not going to
Exotic. Joe Exotic.
Joe Exotic is that last 2019 also. Speaking of volunteering, Taylor Blanchett was also the Volunteer of the Year. She received an award at our Sign Expo Canada, which is very similar to a lot of the work that Joe Expo or Joe Exotic. All of his animals, he considers it volunteer work, so he's giving back. So Joe, take it from there. Where are we going?
Listen, I was something both of you probably don't know, is really the only social media I participate in is LinkedIn. I don't really deal much with I don't at all with Facebook or Instagram or Twitter.
That's a lie, because the music is all over YouTube.
Well, so that shows you how disconnected I am from social media in general, right? So I am constantly, watching those previews on Netflix. Every time I'm like staying overnight in a hotel in a different state or whatever. So I keep a list of things I want to watch. And as soon as Tiger King popped up on Netflix, my Netflix says, you want to watch this. And I watched the preview and I was just blown away. And really the thing that I think is absolutely hilarious is the guy is just an anomaly to me. Like he's in Oklahoma, he's gay, he's got a mullet, and he has a tiger zoo. I was like, there's no way this isn't interesting, right? So, and it did not disappoint. So I got to hear, what do you guys have to say about Tiger King?
Have you watched it, Taylor?
I have. And so I went into Tiger King. I'm a huge true crime nerd. I love true crime. So I went into it thinking it was a true crime documentary about something. Someone killed her husband or someone did something. There's tigers involved, whatever. That's why I went into it. And I was a couple days, I feel like, and it was only a number of days. That's all it took for it to kind of take over everything. So a couple days after, and I am on social media, I'm on Reddit, I'm on LinkedIn, or LinkedIn doesn't count, Twitter and Instagram and that sort of thing. You see it everywhere. If people are talking about Tiger King on LinkedIn, I think that they have a bigger problem than we need to talk about right now. But that being said, I was not disappointed that it wasn't even discussing the whole true crime aspect of it as well. But what a freaking gong show.
It doesn't even, it seems like a reality TV show.
It's not real. Yeah.
Whose side are you on? Carol Baskin or Joe Exotic? Whose side are you going to take?
I don't think it's a matter of sides.
You got to pick a side.
I got to pick a side. Okay, well, I've got to pick the one that at least knows what they're doing and isn't pretending to run a charity. So I would go on Joe Exotic's side. Is kind of my thought on it.
Joe Exotic.
All right. So I don't know. I don't know that I'm on Joe's side, but I definitely think that I'm sure you guys heard that the case into Carol Baskin's first husband's death has been reopened. I don't know if you guys knew that. They reopened it.
How would I not know,
I think
Joe?
I don't know. I mean, listen, most of the information that I get is like my wife makes me aware, like at the end of the night, like when we download, I'm like, all right, so what happened today in the real world? Because like I'm just, the way I'm connecting is very different than other people. And she tells me things, and then something catches my interest. I do a little Google. I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy, right? So I think that needed to happen. She has a personality that just oozes crazy to me. It's as we were diving into it, instant guilt. But I think even though she might have selfish motives for the movement she's created, I think it's pretty clear what has been happening with these tiger zoos is it needs to change. If it's still going to remain, it needs to change. You can't just decide, okay, this tiger's not a cub anymore. It cost X $1,000 a day to feed. We gotta put it down and bury it on the zoos, So I think that documentary has done two things for us. One, we're going to find out a little bit more about Carol Baskin's husband, the first one, and see what happened to him.
Well, I think we know exactly what happened to him. I think they just need to prove it.
Right. Well, absolutely. And then the other thing that's going to happen is hopefully there is going to be a little bit more integrity integrated into those tiger zoo, big cat zoo situations, so that we're not just putting them down, or that they're being collected in a fashion where they're being rehabilitated to be introduced back to the wild. Because I think that's kind of where it's weird that, we're hearing that there's 4 or 5 times as many tigers in captivity in the US versus what's in the wild, which just seems crazy, right? So if we so if we could rehabilitate and get those guys back into the wild, that would be beautiful, But for anybody who hasn't watched, and I'll let you guys chime in, I loved it. I got some of the same feelings as To Make a Murderer on Netflix. It gave me a lot of the same feelings, a lot of the same shifting of perspective. I loved it. And Joe Exotic's an anomaly, and he's a salesman. To say the least.
Film.
Yes.
You would be a great sign guy.
And I had huge respect for sales, huge respect. So, Taylor, we're going to let you go here. Was there anything, closing remarks you wanted to give to us?
I don't think so. I think that the only thing we haven't touched on is probably a big thank you to all of those that are out there right now keeping us safe, that are the custodians, the delivery truck drivers, the Amazon drivers, the healthcare workers, everyone like that. We cannot thank them enough, the work that they're doing, the scientists to find the vaccines, everyone that's out there fighting the fight, as it were, to keep us safe and keep us healthy. Thank you. And I guess everyone else out there, stay safe, stay home. I know it's Easter long weekend. And so it's kind of hard to stay at home when you could be out with your family and friends, but be safe. And we're going to get through this, guys. The world's going to look a little bit different on the other end, but different isn't always bad. We just need to figure out how we fit in it. Is kind of my approach to it. So thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. And go Team Exotic or Joe Exotic.
Taylor, we absolutely love having you on this program. Hearing you speak and all the insightful stuff you have to say. It's been a pleasure of ours. So thank you for appearing on this show. And you and I will be in touch in the future, and I know the three of us will see each other at the next ISA show. For
Sounds
sure.
good.
So,
thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Taylor.
Taylor,
say hi to everybody at home.
Thanks again. We really appreciate it.
See ya. Bye.
Joe, I was not lying when I told you that she is a book of knowledge. Taylor is a force to be reckoned with in our industry. An absolute force.
Well, you know what? What we should do is we should probably schedule another one of these with her, but we should have some more in-depth topics instead of our lighthearted Tiger King, because I'm sure we can get into it, you know. But we're running a little late here, so we're going to wrap things up. Was there anything you wanted to touch on real quick before we left?
No,
Matt?
as usual, to everybody that's watching at home, we really appreciate it. We hope you're all staying safe. Continue to share these videos with your friends. It's something to do during COVID. The more we do it, the better we're going to get at it, the more content we're going to have. So we just appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all of you.
All right, everybody. For Rising Signs, I'm Joe.
And I'm Matthew.
Thanks for joining us. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And you should see a whole lot more interesting content coming from us in the future. Thanks, guys.